The animal that keeps appearing in your life isn't random. It's not the universe comforting you. It's not your spirit guide whispering reassurance. It's something far more unsettling. It's your shadow self. The parts of you you've rejected, denied or buried, trying to break through the surface. And here's what almost no spiritual teacher will tell you. Until you understand which shadow animal is following you, you will keep repeating the same painful patterns, the same relationships, the same self-sabotage, the same emotional loops that feel impossible to escape. Today, you're going to discover the three shadow animals, the one that has chosen you, and the exact integration practice to transform that animal from your greatest obstacle into your greatest ally. But before we continue, listen carefully. This isn't about comfort. This is about confronting the truth you've been avoiding. This is about seeing yourself without filters, illusions, or spiritual bypassing. If you stay until the end, something important will happen. You will finally understand why this animal keeps returning and what message your unconscious is desperate for you to hear. If you're ready for that level of honesty, stay. If not, this is your chance to walk away. Because once you see your shadow animal clearly, you can't ever unsee it. Before we go any further, you need to understand what a shadow animal truly is, because most people misunderstand this completely. Your shadow, in Jungian psychology, is the collection of traits, emotions, desires, fears, impulses, and memories your conscious mind has rejected. Not because they're evil, but because at some point you believed they were unacceptable, too emotional, too powerful, too intuitive, too independent, too threatening to the identity you were taught to present to the world. Stop here for a second. Your shadow doesn't disappear. It communicates. It pushes through dreams, symbols, synchronicities, obsession, fascination, fear, repetition. A shadow animal is the symbolic messenger your unconscious uses when it's trying to get your attention. It appears when an aspect of yourself has been suppressed for so long, your psyche has no choice but to speak in metaphors. Let me give you a quick example, because this is where people finally understand how real this is. A woman named Maya kept dreaming of wolves. Night after night, the same piercing yellow eyes, the same feeling of being watched closely, almost judged. She wasn't afraid of wolves. She never thought about wolves during the day, but they kept showing up. In dreams, in books, in random images online. It wasn't until years later that she realized the truth. The wolf wasn't asking her to be wild. It was asking her to stop abandoning herself in relationships. The wolf was the part of her that knew how to protect her boundaries, a part she had suppressed her entire life. Her shadow was speaking, through an animal. Now, people often confuse shadow animals with spirit animals. So listen carefully. A spirit animal calms you. A shadow animal confronts you. A spirit animal brings peace. A shadow animal brings discomfort. A spirit animal feels like guidance. A shadow animal feels like a mirror you don't want to look into. When a shadow animal appears, you don't feel protected. You feel activated. You might feel fear, fascination, revulsion, curiosity, a weird emotional pull, dreams that repeat, or a sense that this means something, because it does. Your shadow animal appears not when life is peaceful, but when you are on the edge of an internal transition, your conscious mind is resisting. And the most important part, the specific animal that appears reveals the exact pattern you've been suppressing. In the next section, you'll learn the first and most intense shadow animal, If this next one is yours, you will feel it in your body the moment I describe it. Let's begin. If the snake has been appearing in your life, in dreams, images, symbols, conversations, or real encounters, your unconscious is trying to deliver one message. You are holding on to a version of yourself that no longer fits. The snake is the shadow animal of suppressed transformation. This is the part of you that knows something must die, but your conscious mind refuses to let it go. Snakes shed their skin not because they want to, but because they cannot grow until they do. And that's exactly what your shadow is trying to show you. If you miss this, you miss the point. The question your shadow is asking you is this: what part of your life or identity has expired, but you're still clinging to it as if it's keeping you alive? It might be a relationship you outgrew years ago, a career identity that feels suffocating, a version of yourself your family expects you to be, an old belief system that no longer matches who you're becoming, a dream you've outgrown but feel guilty letting go of. The snake appears when your life is too small for the person you're becoming. Let me share another story. A man named Rohan kept dreaming of snakes trapped in glass boxes. They weren't attacking him. They weren't threatening him. They were just unable to move. At the time, he thought he was stuck in life. But the truth was deeper. He was the one refusing to break the glass. He was still clinging to an identity that wasn't his. A career chosen for him, a relationship shaped by obligation. A version of himself built on fear instead of truth. The snake wasn't warning him, it was inviting him to shed. Here are traits of snake shadow energy: starting things but not finishing, staying in situations long after they've expired, feeling suffocated for no reason, recurring dreams of being trapped, emotional stagnation, a deep fear of what happens if I change. But here's the real fear underneath. It's not change you fear. It's who you might become if you allowed it. Pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself honestly, did something inside you tighten when I said that? Did a part of you feel seen? If yes, keep listening. This next practice is the turning point. Here's your integration practice. Find a moment alone, or just visualize with me now. Close your eyes. Imagine your current identity as a layer of skin wrapped around you. Touch your forearm. Notice where it feels tight, where it feels restrictive, where it feels too small, where it feels outdated. Now imagine what exists beneath that skin. Not the person you should be, not the person others expect, but the person who is growing quietly underneath. Ask yourself this: if I shed this skin today, what truth would I finally have to face? Whatever answer comes up, even if it scares you, that is your shadow speaking. Write it down. Don't argue with it. Just witness it. If this section resonated, take a moment to acknowledge it. Just say the word "shed" to yourself. Because acknowledging your shadow is the first step toward integrating it. But the snake is only one shadow messenger. Some of you have a very different pattern. One that doesn't fear transformation, but fears your own insight. And that one is far more difficult to face. Let's talk about the crow. If the crow has been appearing in your life, perching near you, cawing at strange moments, showing up in dreams, or catching your attention with unnerving intelligence, your shadow is revealing something powerful and uncomfortable. You see more than you're allowed to admit. The crow represents the shadow of suppressed knowing, the intuition, perception, and inner truth you pushed down because it made other people uncomfortable. You notice patterns too quickly. You sense deception before it's spoken. You pick up on energy shifts instantly. You recognize endings long before they arrive. And at some point in your life, someone reacted to that clarity with fear, dismissal, or ridicule. They called you too sensitive, or paranoid, or negative, or dramatic. And so, to stay safe, you dimmed the part of you that saw too clearly. This next line may explain your entire life. You didn't doubt yourself because you were wrong. You doubted yourself because your accuracy made others uneasy. That's the essence of the crow shadow. Let me tell you about Priya. There was a woman named Priya who always sensed the truth before anyone said a word. She knew when someone was lying. She knew when a relationship was drifting. She knew when a situation was about to collapse. But every time she spoke up, people dismissed her, told her she was imagining things, or being negative. So she stopped sharing, stopped trusting her inner voice, stopped believing her own perception. Years later, she realized something devastating. She had been right every single time. Every single time. The crow wasn't haunting her. It was trying to remind her. You were never wrong. You were early. Here are traits of crow shadow energy. You pick up on the emotions of a room instantly. You sense hidden motives in people. You know things you can't logically explain. You avoid conflict because you see too much. You swallow your truth to keep relationships peaceful. You experience déjà vu, intuitive flashes, symbolic dreams. You often say, "I knew this was going to happen," but the deeper fear is this. You fear the isolation that comes from seeing clearly. Just pause for a second. As you listen, does a part of you feel like you've been living with your vision turned down so others could stay comfortable? If yes, your unconscious already knows the crow is yours. Here's your integration practice. Start keeping a knowing journal. Every time you sense something, write it down. The date, the situation, what you sensed. After a few weeks, look back. You'll see accuracy. You'll see truth you've been trained to ignore. And your confidence will return. Not because someone validated you, but because the data of your own intuition did. If the crow resonates, acknowledge it. Say the word, "see" to yourself. Just that one word. But we're not done. There's one more shadow animal, and it's the one society fears the most. Not because it's dangerous, but because it embodies the trait we are taught to hide, suppress, and apologize for. True independence. Let's talk about the black cat. If the black cat keeps appearing in your awareness, crossing your path, showing up in dreams, pulling your attention in subtle but persistent ways, it's revealing a shadow pattern most people never want to admit. You've forgotten how to belong to yourself. The black cat represents the shadow of suppressed independence. The part of you that knows exactly who you are and what you want, but has learned to silence itself to stay acceptable, loved, or safe. And here's the deeper truth. You weren't conditioned to be obedient. You were conditioned to be pleasing, to not be too much. To not make others uncomfortable. To not choose yourself if someone else might disapprove. So you became adaptable, agreeable, shape-shifting, careful. You learned how to be what others needed, even when it meant abandoning what you needed. That's when the black cat appears. Not as a warning, but as a rebellion. This is the core of the black cat shadow. You're not afraid of being alone. You're afraid that if you finally express who you truly are, The people around you won't choose to stay. That fear has shaped more of your life than you realize. Let me tell you about Arjun. There was a person named Arjun who felt most alive when he was completely alone. Late-night walks, solo trips, moments of absolute independence. But he never told anyone that, because every time he chose solitude, people made him feel guilty. Why don't you come out? Why are you so distant? So he learned to perform a version of himself that made everyone else more comfortable. It wasn't until black cats started appearing in his dreams, each one staring directly into his eyes, that he finally understood. The cat wasn't asking him to be rebellious. It was asking him to stop abandoning himself. Here are traits of black cat shadow energy. You feel trapped by obligations you never consciously chose. You hide the parts of yourself that feel too different. You suppress your independence to maintain harmony. You crave solitude but feel guilty needing it. You adjust your personality depending on who you're with. You fear the loss of connection if you have boundaries. You feel wrong for wanting freedom. And underneath all of this lies the deepest fear. Who you truly are might not be acceptable. Just take a breath for a moment. Place a hand on your chest. Do you feel a small pressure right now? The place where your independence has been held captive? If yes, your shadow is already responding. Here's your integration practice. Spend 1 hour alone, doing something purely for yourself, with no purpose, no productivity, no justification. Notice. Do you feel guilty? Do you feel restless? Do you feel like you should be doing something else? That resistance is your suppressed independence trying to come back to life. Sovereignty is not selfishness. Self-belonging is not abandonment. Freedom is your birthright, not a luxury. If the black cat resonated, acknowledge it. Say the word free to yourself. No explanation, no apology, no justification. Now that you've identified your shadow animal, there's one final step. Let's move into the final chapter. Now that you know which shadow animal has been reaching for you, there's something important you need to understand. Your shadow doesn't appear to punish you. It appears because a part of you is finally strong enough to return home. Most people think shadow work means fighting the shadow, correcting it, or making it disappear. But the truth is the opposite. Shadow work is not about conquering parts of yourself. It's about reclaiming them. The snake doesn't come to disrupt your life. It comes because you're ready to transform. The crow doesn't appear to curse you with intuition. It appears because your clarity is your gift, one you've been trained to doubt. And the black cat doesn't invite you into isolation. It invites you back into sovereignty. The place where your identity is no longer negotiated for acceptance or approval. Your shadow animal appears for one reason: to restore the part of you you abandoned in order to survive. Let me say that again, because it is the heart of all shadow work. Every shadow began as a survival strategy. Integration begins when survival is no longer your default. Here's the truth you've avoided. You are not afraid of the animal. You are afraid of the truth it represents. Because once you acknowledge the transformation, the knowing, or the independence waiting inside you, your old life won't fit anymore. And deep down, you already know that. When you integrate your shadow animal, something shifts. The snake's transformation becomes conscious reinvention. The crow's intuition becomes your most trusted compass. The black cat's independence becomes self-belonging. Confusion turns into clarity. Stagnation turns into movement. Patterns you've repeated for years begin to break naturally. Your shadow animal is not a warning, it's an initiation. Take a moment now to reflect. Which shadow animal chose you? What pattern are you done repeating today? Your acknowledgement won't just help you. It will help someone else feel less alone in the part of themselves they've been fighting. Remember this. Your shadow animal didn't choose you by accident. It chose you because you're finally ready to listen. And once you listen, your life can no longer stay the same. Your shadow journey has only just begun.